this was rather short notice. I was criticized for that. That's fine. I have broad shoulders. But the reason I felt it was imperative that we hold something is that there simply has been too much outside influence, in my opinion, in this election, and there's certainly been some things that aren't true. And you know, when you take a year-old Facebook post on a national issue that the monkey see, monkey do, as we know, is an old expression. The story that was with the post was about minor football kids imitating the NFL. Minor football kids taking a knee during the national anthem because they're imitating their professional idols. That's what the monkey see, monkey do was about. But Mr. Lucio, who lives in Cornwall, who ran a paper here that failed, called the Massena News, decided this was important. So he decided he was going to crucify me with it, and so he started posting on his Facebook page. The Massena Democrats then took this. I found out today, someone from outside the town prepared a press release for them. It was issued, so I've been told, I can't prove that. They issued a press release calling me a bigot, calling me a racist, which is just totally ridiculous. And one of the things I said on my Facebook page was, when people defend themselves as not being racist, you can't really do that. So, because people go, oh yeah, he's just saying this stuff. So what I said on my Facebook page was, call my black roommate who was born in Trinidad and see if he thinks I'm a racist. Call the Mohawks that I worked with for 6 years, every day, dozens of them, see if they think I'm a racist. It was an insult, it was rude, it was uncalled for in local elections. And I wasn't going to put up with it.
Wasn't
I
the
thought,
Shays girl behind that?
well, according to Shays, is the Democrat chairman. I find it hard to believe that she came up with this idea on her own and put this together on her own. Because I know Courtney, I've known her parents for a long time. I don't think that's her style, quite honestly. I don't think her parents, it's their parents' style. I know her husband Pat, I don't think it's his style. I think it's somebody else's style that was foisted on her because she's the chairman. And it's unfortunate that you would use somebody like that. But anyway, that's not my business. That's the Massena Democrat Party's business. So I wanted to come out tonight and hopefully get as many people as we could. And thank you so much for being here. We don't have all that many people, but and just talk about some issues. If people have questions about where I stand on things, if they have questions about something I've said or done, I want to answer those. I think I've been very clear in what my record has been. I think some significant accomplishments in the 8 years that I've been in office, and I stand on that record. I have nothing to hide. And here's another thing that I found funny. Steve O'Shaughnessy has not said, Joe didn't do this, Joe didn't do that, or Joe did this and it was wrong. He's not come out and criticized anything that I've done in the past 8 years. He also has not come out with any kind of plan for what he'll do if he's elected. Well, and there's also been different iterations, different reasons why he ran. Well, at first it was, when he came to my office to tell me he was running, 4 days after I read it in the newspaper, he said, well, I probably should have come to you first. And I said, that would have been the decent thing to do. I said, why are you running? And he says to me, and this is almost verbatim, I can't remember the exact words, well, you know, I ask myself that a lot. You probably do too. And I said, no, I never ask myself. I know why I'm here. Well, there are people that would like to see a Democrat in this seat. I said, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. But so is that the reason you're running? And he never really gave me a reason for running. So then it was, well, we need a plan. There's no plan. We don't have any direction. There's no leadership. The latest in the paper was, the reason he's running is because I do everything at the last minute. He hasn't shown any proof of that, of course, in my time. Maybe Sam can explain that better, but am I perfect? No. Do I forget to forward an email now and then? Yeah, I do. I served with another town councilman who's since left the board, who was a Democrat. One year he came to me and he said, are you going to run for re-election? It was 4 years ago. I said, you know, I had some health issues going on at the time. I said, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my health, but right now I'd say I'm about 60% that I'm going to run. He said, well, let me know because they came and asked me to run against you. And if you're going to run again, I'm not going to run against you. He said, I like working with you. And I said, well, I think we get along pretty good. And he said, yeah, we do. And I said, I try to share information as much as I can. He said, Joe, I think you're my, I don't know, third or fourth or fifth supervisor. And he said, I think you have shared more information with this board than I've ever gotten before. And that was coming from a Democrat, an incumbent Democrat councilman who's no longer on the board. So, you know, I've tried to do this job. I don't politics don't interest me much. I used to be very involved with the Republican Party locally and in the county level. I'm more interested in government. I spent 20 years doing it in different levels and different forms. And as I said I think it was in the paper a while ago, my two favorite jobs I've ever had are the two that paid me the least. And this is one of them. And the other one was when I was back working at the Massena Observer back when it was twice a week. And I came out of college in '86 and was making $10,500 a year for that job. So, but you know, I like the job, and I thought I'd give it another shot for another term. There are still some things I'm working on. I've got some other ideas as we go forward, and so we'll see where we go. But I've talked enough. I want to see if folks have questions for me or concerns. I'm certainly more than welcome to field any kind of questions you have or discuss anything you want to discuss. So if the camera intimidates you, we can try to keep the camera off you as best we can, but some people don't like to do it. John Michaud, by the way, is a local media representative. He does a lot film stuff for North Country Now, and he has his own channel on YouTube, and we appreciate you being here, John. Thanks very much. So, any questions, any concerns? If not, I can tell you a little bit more about what I want to do, but that's...
I kind of got from what you were saying that maybe it's just a case of the Democrats would like the seat, the chair, rather than really have plans or organization to go how to get things done and what to be done.
Yeah, I think we need to differentiate between Democrats and Democratic Party.
The party.
Because
yes, that's fair.
A Republican doesn't get elected in Massena without a whole bunch of Democrat votes, as we know.
I know that.
Because of the enrollment edge. And I had good support in my first year, the first term. The next time I was unopposed, so obviously it was pretty hard to gauge that. But I know that I have some pretty good Democratic support, or Democrat support, not Democratic Party support, from Democrats, local Democrats that are supporting my candidacy. I heard it at church again tonight when I went to Mass this evening. So there's no doubt that, and I don't understand how having one party control of everything is in anybody's best interest. I tend not to look at, on a local level, I don't know if we even need parties anymore. I used to think we did, but I'm not so sure about that. But look at the village board, everybody's one party. And I don't have a problem with that as long as I see evidence of people thinking differently and expressing different opinions. And depending how strong the party influence is in that situation, a lot of times we don't see public disagreement. You can disagree behind the scenes, but please don't disagree publicly. That's not good.
No.
Well, you know, I grew up in a family I had three brothers and my parents and my dad argue after the drop of a hat. And if we get together today, my brothers and I for holidays, and my sisters-in-law will laugh and they'll say, "You guys all agree and you still argue about stuff." But that's just the way I was brought up, you know, to have discussion and debate and disagree. And sometimes I think disagreement isn't a bad thing. I think it makes for better policy when it comes to government. If you have, you know, Councilman A says this, Councilman B says that, the discussion going back and forth, and a lot of times you end up with I believe, a better solution because of that disagreement.
But you can still be friends.
Sure, and there's compromise. Unlike our friends in Congress on a national level, we don't see a whole lot of that anymore. But, you know, there was a time when that was what you did. You would, I think back, you know, to Tip O'Neill and those guys that would, you know, him and Reagan fight tooth and nail, but they got stuff done. They realized there was a time to come together.
He really went across the aisle all the time.
Yes, he did, yeah.
And they made progress that way in many times.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Well, it wasn't really a question, it was an observation.
Okay.
I just kind of took from what you had said before about what, you know, I'm sure they would like to have the seat.
Right, but and again, I've not seen an agenda for change or an agenda to do things differently that I'm doing.
And I haven't read about it. So.
Right. So. Anyone else?
No, not really.
Gary.
How do you feel about, Mr. O'Shaughnessy has been saying that the first thing he's going to do, other than build a little tunnel downstairs to his office, he's always talked about one of his major goals is he wants to have a plan, a comprehensive plan. By him saying that and having the privilege of being a supervisor for 4 years, I don't know exactly where they are, but you can ask one of the ladies. There's probably 4, 5, or 6 plans down there, comprehensive plans, that over probably the last 25 years, each one of those plans was worth 25 or 35 to $50,000.
Yeah, they're expensive.
And on top of that, is my understanding wrong, there is a plan being developed through the New York Power Authority, and they're investing $100,000 to do it for us so that we can come out of the cave we've been living in.
Yeah. The, couple different points, I guess. There is a comprehensive plan that was done probably 15 or 20 years ago, that has indeed sat on the shelf and collected dust. Part of that is the town's fault. I mean, but comprehensive plans tend to be, in my opinion, this big, huge conglomeration. Like you said, you hire a consultant, you pay them $20,000 or $25,000.
Yeah.
A lot of times they bring in a boilerplate plan they've used other places, they change some of the pieces, change some of the names, so it says Massena instead of Mansville or wherever, but they're not a bad document. I just don't think we need one. I don't think you can. I think we can very easily put together our own list of objectives, our own list of goals. We've not done that in the 8 years I've been here. I'll admit to that. I've had some ideas in my head.
Inspiration.
Well,
It's
yeah.
good to look at it. I saw the one Kenny had done.
Mhm.
Kenny, you know what I mean. He took me in the office one day and showed it to me.
Ken McDonald. Yeah.
McDonald. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
And I imagine that did cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's the last we heard of it.
Right, and so, but the other thing is, the last time we had an a comprehensive plan done was when Massena was a lot different community than it is today.
Yeah.
So you could say, well, maybe we should spend the money to update it, but I think we should, what I've been trying to do, let me back up, I guess, to what I've been trying to do. My second month in office in 2010, I held a public meeting to talk about our fishery. I don't know anything about fishing. I don't fish. I don't even eat much fish. I've said this for years. But I know, here's what I know. We have lots of water, and one of the ways you can turn that water into money is through fishing.
Yes.
So I said, well, I'm gonna have a meeting about fishing. So I had a meeting, it was a February night, kinda cold, like this, it was up here. 35 people show up at the first meeting. So we start kicking ideas around, and I don't really know much what I'm talking about, to tell you the truth, but I'm listening to them. You know, what is good about our fishery? How can it be better? What should we promote? Different species. We talked about the restocking of the walleye that's been going on for a while. Walleye is a very important species for us. And so that was so they said, we're gonna meet again? I said, do we need to? Yeah, let's meet again. So we planned a meeting for a couple of weeks later. A couple of weeks later, February, still February, snowy, cold, it wasn't a blizzard, but it was a snowstorm, cold night, 2 people show up. No, more than 2 people, again, another 40 or 50 people show up, but a couple different people show up. A guy named Dave Swanson, who was the president of North Country Savings Bank, and a guy named Don Meisner came together, and Pat McCowan from the St. Lawrence County Chamber came to the meeting. We talked again about fishing. Meisner told us some of his experience, his background. The meeting's over. Dave Swanson goes up to me and he says, if you put together some kind of effort on fishing, the bank's got $5,000 to invest in that.
See, that's the kind of thing.
And I said, great, I don't know what we're doing, Dave, but great, I appreciate that. Pat McCowan comes up to me and says, where are you going with this thing, Joe? I said, I have no idea, Pat. She said, well, let's talk about it. So the following week or 2 weeks later, she came to my office, we sat down, we kicked around some ideas, talked about what kind of money we thought we could raise, and how we would go about that, and Fish Cap was born. We've all heard of Fish Cap by now, I think. And the county chamber did that. We raised $250,000 for a 3-year plan that we had to develop Fish Cap and promote our fishery. We did that. We hired Don Meisner because he was available. We took Swanson's $5,000 from the bank. We added to that. We came up with $250,000. We had Corning bought in, the town of Massena. I went to the town council. Pat came to the meeting. We told them what our vision was. They looked at each other and said, we think this is a no-brainer. And the council committed $25,000 a year for 3 years, a total of $75,000 of the town's compact money. And that was sort of the seed that started Fish Cap. And Meisner has been a phenomenal promoter of fishing. So Fish Cap, 3 years ends its course. Pat McCowan retires from the county chamber. The county chamber board felt they were kind of fished out. They said, let's put Fish Cap on the back burner for a while. So I didn't think it was the right decision. I tried, and the mistake I made was not owning, the town of Massena not owning Fish Cap. We let the county chamber, they get the copyright, and everything belonged to the county chamber. So they had control of it. So I tried to get control away from the county chamber, we weren't able to do that. So they kind of put it on hold. So then I said, well, I'm not gonna let this momentum drop. I'm gonna keep going. And one of the things that came out of Fish Cap was the first Bassmaster Elite tournament in Waddington, which, you know, put us on the national stage, was great.
Yes, it did.
Put it up Waddington on the stage, not Massena, which I didn't kind of like, but here's what happened with that. I've told this story before. These guys come up who have contacts with Bassmaster Elite Series. We bring them, they want to go to Ogdensburg. Well, no, we really think the tournament should be in Ogdensburg. Well, Don says, well, you know, there's other places. Well, no, we really like Ogdensburg. They got to Ogdensburg, and no offense to the, what are they, the Lilac City, are they, or whatever their name is? Maple City, that's right. No offense to the Maple City, but Bassmaster said, no, this isn't right. This isn't the type of setting we're looking for. So Meisner says, well, let's go to Massena. You can see what's down there. Okay. They get in the car. They're driving by. Wait, Don, hey, what's this place? He says, Waddington. Well, we really like this setup. He said, well, Waddington's real small. There's not a whole lot of amenities and stuff. Yeah, but we really like this setting. Well, why don't you come down to Massena? No, we want to do something here. So they never made it to Massena, unfortunately.
So far.
But, well, so far, right. But what did happen was the first tournament, there was, when the Bassmaster Elite first came here, the hotel here, right, the Quality Inn was the headquarters for all the media. So all the media stayed at the Massena, at the hotel in Massena. Some of the anglers stayed in hotels and motels here. So Massena, because we had the amenities that Waddington didn't have, ended up benefiting from the Elite Series. And the first year, I think we put up $5,000 to help co-sponsor, because they had to raise $60,000 to have the to host the tournament. That's the host fee.
What is that for, insurances and?
No, that's for
No?
Bassmaster to say, yes, we'll come there.
Oh,
How much?
okay, I got you.
$60,000,
Goes to Bass Pros?
yes,
Yeah.
for them to bring the show to town. And it covers some of their expenses. They certainly have
okay.
expenses. They have staff that travel, all this kind of stuff. But that is the host fee for a Bassmaster Elite tournament. So that one happened, and it's been here, I think it's been here 3 times so far. They're coming back again next August. So, and again, I've been criticized for taking credit for other people's work, and certainly I try not to do that, but there is no doubt that Bassmaster Elite would not be in Waddington and St. Lawrence County had it not been for the 2 meetings I had in February 2010. I don't care what anybody says. And if somebody can prove me wrong, please come forward and do it, because they can't. That's what happened. Now, a lot of things happened after that that solidified Bass coming here. They came here, they loved the reception they got. They had a huge attendance at the first, 34,000 people, set a national record for any of their tournaments. So here's a town of, what, 1,500, 2,000 people in Waddington?
Not many.
And they set a national record for attendance at a Bassmaster Elite tournament. So, anyway, so that,
And they pulled in a lot of people, like, I'm not a fisher.
Right,
I don't
right.
do that.
right.
But we went up because they were having
Yeah, there was,
vendors and they were
a
having,
fair,
you know,
yeah.
and they've gotten some cute little places to eat.
Yeah,
and-
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's certainly put Waddington on the map, no doubt about it. They were working already with the carpet stuff before, and so it certainly put them on the map. But again, so if people come to Waddington, they gotta drive through some towns to get there, don't they?
That's right.
Some of them drive through Massena, some of them drive through Canton, some of them drive through Ogdensburg. They see other parts of St. Lawrence County.
That's right.
And we have all kinds of water, we have all kinds of great fishing all over the county. None better than Massena, quite honestly, but I'm biased that way.
Maybe they don't know it yet.
All right, right. So then, when Fish Cap, I don't wanna talk about this forever, but Fish Cap wound its course, then I went out and said to Meisner, you wanna come and work for the town of Massena? Oh, yeah, I might be able to work something out, and yeah, I'd like to be interested in that. So I talked to the town council, we had money set aside, we were able to do a contract with Don for 1 year. Now we're in the middle of a 2nd year contract with him as well. And he's attended trade shows from Columbus, Ohio, to Springfield, Mass, to Suffern, New York, to Ottawa, to Montreal, to Batavia. and we're gonna be doing some shows again next year, we're booking them right now. Now, if somebody can kill those, if I lose, they can say, no, we're not going anywhere, we're not gonna do any more trade shows, but here's one of the things that kinda concerned me, when Don goes to this, there's a huge sportsman's expo in Suffern, New York, just north of New York City. He goes down there last year, we didn't make it there the first year, I don't think, anyway, the last time he was there were people in Suffern, New York, who come to this show, that have never heard of the St. Lawrence River. Don't know where the St. Lawrence River is. So that shows you the kind of work we have cut out for us to get Massena noticed, if these people don't even know where the St. Lawrence River is.
They live in the same state and they don't.
Exactly. So that is why we've been doing these shows, and they cost money. You know, a typical show is gonna cost $1,500, $2,000 for registration fee. Then a booth space, I should say booth rental space. Then we gotta get Meisner there. We gotta pay his lodging, his meals, then we gotta get him back. But he's been very good about that, and like I said, he's attended, I think, 5 or 6 shows last year. We're not gonna go to Columbus anyway. We've been to Columbus twice, Columbus, Ohio, and we just thought we may get better bang for our buck. There's a new show in a couple months down at Turning Stone Casino. It's gonna be a huge show, so we're gonna be at Turning Stone. We're gonna be back in Boxborough, Mass, which is just outside of Boston, in January. It's one of the first ones of the year. That effort continues, and I think we will see continued benefit down the road, but, you know, we've gotta spend money. And some people don't like that, but the reason we have, one of the stated purposes for the casino gaming compact money that we receive is economic development. And so rather than spending dollars raised from taxpayers, right? Is this taxpayer money? Yeah, it is, but it doesn't come from their taxes, it comes from the state, from the compact money. So in this year's budget, I had a $50,000 marketing line, marketing and promotion. It covers all these shows, it covers some TV commercials we've done, it covers some different things. In the 2018 budget, I've increased that to $100,000. So I've doubled the money we're gonna spend on marketing and promotion. So far, it has not been reduced at all by the town council. I hope that it won't be. But we have to spend this money to educate people in places like New York City, Boston, Ottawa, Montreal, about where Massena is. And believe it or not, people in Montreal and Ottawa don't know either, you know? So Meissner goes up to the Ottawa show last year and he tells me, all these people are talking about Ogdensburg. Oh, we'd love to go to Ogdensburg, we go there to shop, we go there to eat. He says, well, what about Massena? Where's Massena? He says, 35 miles further east. Really, we've never been there. So that kind of, again, was kind of a shock and kind of woke us up that we have a lot more work to do. So, that's,
And you have to spend money to
Yes.
get any return on it.
Messena is
Have
never
to.
mentioned in the books.
well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately.
Messena is never mentioned
You
in
brought me some
any
papers where it was-
of the books on 81, 89,
Yep.
87, 90. They're not mentioned. It stops at Ogdensburg.
It concerns me when a state publication comes out and it doesn't have Massena in it, and that's because we're not doing enough work in that
Does not have
area,
Messena in it.
you know? I remember there was a map, who was one of the big companies that puts out maps?
McNally.
It might have been McNally, came out on the map a few years ago, Massena wasn't even on the map, for God's sake.
That's right.
It was hard to believe, but it wasn't there. And we're the largest community in St. Lawrence County, by far, still.
Yeah.
Or
even
when
with
they
the-
talk about northern New York,
Yeah,
they cut it right off at Albany or
I know,
something,
yeah, upstate, yeah.
upstate.
Yeah, and see, some of that again is marketing and branding, and we're trying to develop a Massena brand, which is what we've been working on. I think we need to come up with another term, maybe, and I happen to like northernmost New York. Where's Massena?
That's
And
where we are.
northernmost, exactly. You can't go any further north than New York and
That's how I explain it to
and still be
people.
in New York, exactly, yeah, so.
I agree with you to a certain extent
Sure.
on Fish Cap. I think you've done a good job on that. I think it's a good one step forward.
It's right, it's one.
I look at it as, it's one part of the puzzle, one piece of the puzzle. I think we have to get a more aggressive, how are we gonna come out of this hole we're dug ourselves with the loss of the plants and everything?
Yeah.
I don't think the people that are working on it now Not that they're not good people and not that they don't have the background. What our town seriously lacks right now is the youth. Who do we pass the staff to the next generation to carry us going forward?
Sure.
They all talk about all this, educated workforce. We had a educated workforce. When Alcoa, when Reynolds went down and GM went down, those young people, hey, just because they close, that doesn't mean you don't have to feed your kids anymore, you don't have house payments or anything else. When they left, that educated workforce left. What we have now is an older educated workforce, like myself. I ain't got the goddamn energy to get out there and do what has to be done. We need youth to get in here and bring new ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the second part.
You've gotta feed that to make it grow. Or not just you, if O'Shaughnessy's there, we gotta grow it. It's not there. It's a little weed right now that's gotta grow.
The second part of your question, I think that I didn't answer, and it dovetails on what you just said. Fishing and tourism are only gonna do so much for us, right? Those jobs only pay a certain level. And quite honestly, they don't replace an Alcoa job. You know, and you're not gonna work in tourism and make the kind of money you would've made at Alcoa. But there aren't a whole lot of Alcoas coming to New York State, let alone way up in northern New York. You know, and New York's not the most business-friendly state in the country by any means. So, the Power Authority, when we had these negotiations with it, there was a 10-year review every year of the license, the New York Power Authority's license to operate the dam. When we had the 2010 review, we were able to secure some money to make some improvements at, you know, the Massena intake boat ramp, some improvements in Waddington, some improvements, some trail development in Louisville. They have an idea they'd like to have a municipal campground in Louisville that they're working on and talking about. But also, what came in that settlement of that renewal license review was money for an economic development study. Power Authority spent a bunch of money, went out and hired this company, and did an economic development study. We also, when we were negotiating that, when I say we, it was the local government task force, which is, you know, people from Waddington, Massena, and Louisville. I happen to be the chairman. Al Nicola's been a representative from the town for a long time on there. Louisville's got a couple of representatives. Waddington Town and Village are both represented. The Village of Massena is represented. And the three school districts represented. Lisbon's still, they're not in the boundary anymore, but they're still in the task force. But anyway, one of the things we said was, an economic development study is good. And they hired this company called the McKinsey Company, which is a huge, you know, known worldwide company that does these kinds of economic development studies. We also need to go a step further in that if we have a study, we then need to sell that study, market that study. So what was also agreed is they would take $1 million more and hire a company to do a global search, a worldwide search for companies to come to Massena, use NYPA's power, low-cost hydropower, to put a facility here, to use the power to create some jobs. Those will be jobs that are gonna have some more meaning than just tourism jobs. I'm not, let me just finish this by saying this, I'm not privy to everything that's going on, but I know that the global search company has been hired, it was in the public a couple of months ago. They've been working, there are a couple potential, there's some interest out there. Does that mean that one of those companies is gonna come here? I don't know, and I'm not close enough to know even what the current status of that is. It's not my job to know that. I've been criticized for that too. You said that the town of Massena doesn't create jobs. You're right. The town of Massena creates jobs, it costs people tax money to pay for them. We need private sector jobs. We need private sector companies. That's what this search is looking for right now. We need some young people who have some ideas, some entrepreneurs who have an idea to start a business, take a chance and start a business. It would be great if we had some funding to do that. We don't have that yet. A gentleman just started a canoe and kayak rental out on the Pontoon Bridge Road. He's apparently successful enough. He's been doing it for a couple of years now. We need more people like that. He took a chance. He saw a need. He took a chance. There, again, part of the settlement, there will be some huge improvements at the Massena intake boat ramp. The ramp will be, I think, tripled in size. There will be a boardwalk along the water. there'll be 2 new pavilions, just, it'll look totally with, you know, with bathrooms and running water, et cetera, et cetera. A pavilion that will be big enough for you to have a wedding out there, a wedding reception or something else, right on that beautiful bluff overlooking the St. Lawrence River.
I don't
So-
think we ever had the opportunity to develop the land.
No,
along
we
the
haven't,
river.
you know, because they control so much of it, but.
I know.
But again, maybe there's a business there, maybe there's a business for someone to start doing weddings and receptions, that when the intake is, when this new pavilion is there, it'll be a pavilion where the sides will be able to roll up when it's a nice weather, if it's bad weather, you put the sides down. There's one like that they just opened in Waddington, the Power Authority built, was just gorgeous. This one will be much bigger than that, but
Oh, that-
it'll be the
that
same kind of
would
thing,
be-
so, but we go back again, how do we get young people, Gary? You gotta have a job, right? They gotta have somewhere for them to work, and raise a family and pay for their family, pay for their kids, et cetera, so, that's important.
If I'm hogging the time here, just say, Gary, shut up.
Gary, shut up.
Don't bother me.
No, I'm sorry, I apologize. But, okay, I'll give you an idea, all right?
Okay.
This is an idea that I tossed by one of the village board members.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that, because I was a little impressed, he's not a member of my party, but I thought he's kind of got a good head on his shoulders. I had this idea. Now, how many of us have bought a vacuum? You know, you've got a vacuum, right? You like it? Because I'll tell you, I've got a vacuum, and it is a piece of crap.
Okay?
The what?
A vacuum.
He doesn't like his vacuum.
No,
He just-
remember when you used to be able to go and buy an Electrolux?
Yeah,
You still can, but it's not an Electrolux.
That's 'cause
It's built
not
by
made here.
Japanese or Chinese, some
Yeah.
other country. So I was sitting there thinking, you know, I'm so sick and tired of having stoves, refrigerators, all of these appliances that you buy now are nothing compared to what your mom or your dad used to have 40 years ago. So I said, wouldn't it be a great idea if somebody would approach Clarkson University, one of the leading educational facilities in our country for engineering, and say to them, okay, this is gonna be a thing you can talk to your students about. Set up a private section in the university that their main goal is to study how to make appliances. You know,
Don't have to-
better than what we've got now. Clarkson University can hold on to the patent, but make an agreement that once that they make it, it will be built and serviced in St. Lawrence County, say in Massena, because we have plants that are sitting here rotting, doing nothing. And usually Potsdam wants to keep it all educational, so they don't want, you know, any kind of industry. And they could build it here, hire the individuals to put it together. You could have a sales staff, you could have a trucking empire like we used to have when Walsh Trucking and Deluxe Lines and all of these other lines were operating.
yeah.
If you make a good product, Americans will buy it. Because I'm sure I'm not the only American that is sick and tired of getting second-class material for good green bucks.
Well, I think that's what Tesla's, the whole idea, what the Tesla's trying to do with the cars is trying to, you know,
Yeah,
again, those are high-end luxury things, but I hear he's, yeah, but again, the only, I guess, word of caution, it kinda sounds like a cop-out, is that, boy, it's tough to get those businesses in New York State because of our tax structure, and because of the regulations.
But what I'm saying is,
Some of the
if you
regulations.
talk to the university, wouldn't that be a great project to take some of these young engineers and say, okay, for your thesis, you design something that's going to work.
Yeah. Better vacuum,
And-
Dyson did it better, you
Yeah.
gotta buy a Dyson trailer, they're expensive, but they work really well.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you want an opportunity?
Yeah,
You sell a couple of good quality vacuums, you make more money if you would off of a fish.
well, that's a good point, good point.
Going back to the Power Authority, here's another idea in my head. They're our best ally, and they are our enemy. That's how I view the Power Authority. They do these things through things you've negotiated with the committee and everything,
task force, yeah,
every 10
yeah.
years and everything.
Yeah.
That's all well and good. But they do things and they indoctrinate us that, boy, that's a good idea, you people need it and everything else. But if you look at it, they're actually promoting and patting themselves on the back. Waddington, all the, beautiful, when you go down the street of Waddington now and you make that little turn left hand you think you're moving into another planet.
It's very nice.
Excellent job they've done and everything there. But why are we gonna be last in line for that thing right there, that new,
Yeah.
whatever you wanna call it,
Yeah, well, as far as why was the work done in Waddington first, you mean, or, and why are we coming after them? Well, it's actually, it was the Village of Waddington they had the plans ready to go for one thing, so when the money came through, the Village of Waddington said, we've got plans for the waterfront, here it is. And the Power Authority said, well, okay, we like those plans, but we think we can change them a little bit to like them better. So that's how the Village of Waddington got in first. The intake is, the Massena intake is next, then the town of Waddington is trying to do something at says it Sucker Brook? No, Brandy Brook. And Louisville would like to do some trail development along the water, which is, I think a great idea. We've got the dike trails out there already.
Massena doesn't have much land.
No, we don't.
Messena's got the water
Yeah.
going by the St.
Yeah.
Lawrence River,
Yeah.
but we don't have any land.
No, but NIPA does. And you remember, Gary, they did the marina study however many years ago, where they identified parcels that could be leased to private companies?
yeah,
That study's still out there.
yeah.
No, but again, nobody's done anything with it because we don't have any entrepreneurs that says, I'd like to open up a restaurant on the water, on NIPA land. I'd like to lease land from NIPA to do my kayak business, I'd like to lease land to do boat rental, whatever. And so that work has been done if we have business people that wanna take a chance.
If I was if I had to relive my life again in that 4-year period, the thing I would have done, and based what I said just before this, I'd go to New York City, hire the best lawyer you can find. Maybe his name is Herbie Goldstein, and when he pulls up in front of the town law, there's a big limo there with 4 doors on each side, and he'd come out with his little fedora on, and his little black suitcase, and he'd say, well, what can I do for you, Gary Edwards? I would like you to go back home and go to the New York State Power Authority and say, the town of Massena wants some of the land back that you took from them 60 years ago.
Bingo.
We found out it's not gonna flood. This summer was the greatest thing is, they were suffering terribly up the river from us.
Upstream, yeah.
It never really bothered us down here other than eye water and stuff like that. And I would say, we want our land back, and if they don't give it to us friendly-wise, we're gonna sue the hell right out of you. Because you can't come back and say, geez, we're gonna put a big Six Flag tourist attraction or GM was. Well, 401, we'll get all that Canadian traffic and everything else. Well, why doesn't that happen? Because we have no land on the waterfront.
You're right.
I can't tell you how many people come into my office while I was supervisor and said, Gary, why don't we have a big marina down here in these places building boats and everything? I said to him, there's no land, we don't have any land. It got to the point there were so many, I actually went up to Hosmer's Marina up there and bought a map, a nautical map to show them. Well, here it is, right here. There's no land. You go over to Canada and look over here tonight, darkness.
Yeah.
When you're driving over to Canada and you say, holy gee, there's life over here, look at all the lights and this and that and everything else. That's the first thing I do, and I'm not knocking them, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
60 years is enough. It's
Yeah.
not gonna flood.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be, the dam to be washing out. We
Yeah.
just want some of that land so that we can grow.
Sure. And there's only, I think, 2 private parcels in Massena, one being out on the end of Pontoon Bridge Road, and, is there another one? I don't think there is around the river, that's the only one, I think. But,
The beach.
well, the beach is NIPA land, the town doesn't own that.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Massena intake is NIPA land.
yeah.
But I don't disagree with you that we need, maybe, I'm not sure I agree with hiring the attorney, but, different time maybe, but, one of the things I wanted to touch on that you brought up though is, I was a pretty big critic of NIPA when I first took office, and I dinged them on a regular basis. And then we went through the whole negotiation and at the 2010 review. I think we came out in a better position than we went in, because we got some stuff, more stuff. So the first thing I'm gonna say about this is that I think for the first time in a long time, there's some mutual respect between NIPA and the local governments, certainly the government of Massena, because we've taken a different approach and we hit them hard in the nose when we could. Then we kind of backed off and said, okay, let's see if we can get some settlement here that's gonna benefit everybody. The other thing that's happened though too is, there was a guy named Richie Kessel who was the chairman of the Power Authority. Kessel took Power Authority money and threw it all over the place. And as a result, there was an investigation by the Inspector General of New York State, I think the Attorney General, and the Comptroller's Office, and they came out with a report very critical of NIPA's spending. And they said, NIPA can no longer spend money, they can't give money to a community, like, we kept calling it, it wasn't gifts, I forget what they were calling it.
Stipend.
It wasn't really a stipend either, they were kind of, the report said they were giving gifts to communities. And so NIPA now is very, very careful of what they can and can't do, because they get whacked by the comptroller, by the Inspector General. What I've always said to them is, you're not giving us a gift, you're giving us reparation for the damage you've done to our community by tying up our entire shoreline. So we played some of the PR, I don't wanna say game, we played did sort of the PR battle back, I did, and other people did too, not just me, but, with NIPA back and forth. We got their attention, I think, and I think there's more respect between the local governments and NIPA than there has been in a long, long time, if ever. Because they know that we're not gonna get pushed around. But unfortunately now, they're very much limited to what they can do for us than what they used to. I called them a while ago, I said, we need some money for this, and they said, 10 years ago, we could easily fund that, and we put it, said it was a marketing thing. And they've really had to tighten, they've been greatly restricted on how they can spend money anymore, and it's unfortunate, But that said, we're gonna get what we can out of them, and
Well, I probably caused some of the animosity, but am I talking too loud? I really don't hear, and if I get excited, I just talk louder and louder, and everybody's going like
you're not
this.
too loud.
I probably antagonized him a little bit myself,
Yeah.
because I get aggressive.
Maybe
And
you
when
set
I
the
said
stage.
that Massena wasn't getting their fair share in the newspapers, and it went on all over the North Country.
Oh, yeah,
The 900-pound gorilla lives on the back of Massena, New York.
I remember that. You
And-
set
and-
the stage, I
and
think.
the 900-pound gorilla just happened to be NIPA. I would wish that whoever, if you get in, or Mr. O'Shaughnessy does, I'd like to see you look at that 131 out there for development. We own 67 acres
That's
of
right.
land
Yeah,
at the crossroads there,
yeah,
going back towards Massena.
yeah.
I agreed to a deal that was made with Mr. McGinn when he wanted to build that complex of condos and stuff like that,
Yes.
74 of them.
Yeah,
If that project had got going and became reality,
yeah.
it would have added $40 million
Yeah.
of assessment
Huge amount of assessment.
for the town of Massena.
Yeah,
Just in case anybody doesn't know what the $40 million in assessment is, that's 3 1/4 GM. GM paid
That's right. Be
was
three
about
times-
12
three
million a
times.
year.
it's 3 times what GM is.
And my idea to that was why I reluctantly fought my board, but I lost. I wanted to go into the papers in New York City and nationwide, New York Times and stuff, and advertise that 17 acres.
Yeah,
You know, come to Massena, New York, and buy your condominium, and you can watch the ships from the world pass by your front
Absolutely.
porch,
yeah, absolutely,
100 yards off of your front porch.
yeah.
But I also expanded in that S curve, I wanted to build a boardwalk.
Yeah,
And on that boardwalk, I'd want underneath that boardwalk and into that beach that isn't a beach where everybody goes in the summer.
Right,
Get the purest white sand you can get.
yeah,
And on the boardwalk, have people selling, you know, with the carts and
yeah,
stuff.
kiosks.
Get that
everything.
festive summery look.
Yeah,
How about a sea-doo, rental place?
Sure, yeah.
And kayaks and everything.
Yeah.
Well, somebody must have been living, cause that kayak guy right
Yeah.
on the other
Yeah.
corner where Chapman's used to be,
Yeah.
he's renting canoes
Yeah,
and I said,
kayaks,
oh,
yeah.
somebody's thinking like I am.
Yeah, yeah.
That poor sucker thinking like the way I do, you know?
Oh,
And
but he's
then-
getting the job done, you're right.
A nice beach, and on that point, a 200-room hotel
Yeah,
and convention center.
yeah. It's
In
got
the paper a couple days ago, I think Louisville Town Board is, somebody else is thinking like me because they're saying the same thing.
Yeah, there is a proposal that's making its way through the regional economic development effort that New York State has for a lodge resort kind of thing in Louisville. They also looked at Massena, and the attraction, I can't say too much, but the attraction there was the water in that area between Wilson Hill and the mainland is a lot calmer than it is out on the end of Pontoon Bridge Road. You got that horrible
Right.
current's really, really powerful. Once you get out of that little inlet, boy, you're really getting hammered by the current. So I think that's why they looked there first, and that, and possibly availability of some property there, but, so, I think there's some potential there. When that deal first went through, I was opposed to it, but you know, it really made sense. The thing that happened was, the recession hit. Other things hit Massena, so there wasn't a demand for the condos that Heritage Homes and Paris thought. So that plan foundered. They didn't think there was a market to build those, so you're not gonna build a bunch of condos if you don't think anybody's gonna buy them, you know? So, but, you know, I've thought before, should we go back to them and say, hey, can we buy that land back from you? I don't know if it makes sense or not, and you have to convince me
Why buy
that we
it?
should. What's that?
Why buy it?
Well, no, I'm saying, I don't think they're gonna give it back to us. They paid $400,000 for it, I think, when they bought the land, wasn't it? Something like that.
Who was that?
When Heritage Homes and Paris bought that property from the town, they paid $400,000, I think.
Well,
Just before you left office, yeah, was it 500? So,
The land
I
that
said,
they
should
bought.
to go back to them and say, hey, we'd like to buy that property back from you? I don't know that would make sense from a town standpoint to use taxpayers' dollars to do that, to tie up taxpayers' dollars to take more property off the tax rolls, you know, so, you know, I obviously haven't pursued that, but, you talked about the boardwalk idea, and one thing that I've talked about before a couple times is to develop, I'd like to see a multi-purpose trail developed from Hawkins Point all the way to Waddington along the river.
yeah.
And you could hike and bike it in the summer, and then you could also cross-country ski it in the winter. In the summer, there are people that rent, again, another business, you can rent cross-country skis on wheels that you can use in the summer. People can do that, and there's places where they do that, usually in more mountainous areas, people will rent cross-country skis on wheels in the summer to go wheeling along different paths. We could do that here certainly, but it's a matter, I guess, of how, if that trail is built, and a whole bunch of sections are already built, right? We just gotta, the dikes are all there, people are walking the dikes already, people are using the dikes all the time. So if we can develop those trails a little more and then connect them, a lot of that trail's already in place. So, can we get all the way to Waddington? I don't know. The toughest part right now is you gotta come through the tunnel somewhere to get underneath the locks, and there's only one way to do that. So that's the first bottleneck. Then they just built a new bridge in Waddington, they're building a new bridge in Waddington right now that doesn't have any pedestrian crossing on it. Don't ask me why. But we were talking to the meeting with the director of the Parks and Recreation region in Alex Bay a few months ago. She said there actually is a cantilever thing they can attach to that bridge that would allow for a walkway beside the bridge. There's some kind of hardware that you can attach to a bridge that is a cantilever for a walkway. So, but again, many portions of that trail are already in place. We just need to connect them, I think, and we would have a very significant portion of that. And all the land along the river on the water's edge is all NIPA land. You're not talking about using private land, you don't have to take any private land or buy any or take any by eminent domain, it's all NIPA land anyway, so. But, that's, 10 years is up again to 20, right? 2020 is another 10-year review, so.
I feel if you have to take a look at that compact money bit. It's great, but we gotta get away from supporting nonprofits with compact money. That compact money should be put in an account all by themselves.
Yeah.
We've done our fair share with fire departments and senior citizens and all this stuff. It's about time that we have to start thinking about our community as a whole and get away from this nonprofit stuff. And I know it sounds terrible, but there's so many of them, and they're out there trying to raise money all the time, and you're almost shamed if you don't give them any money. Oh, you're against the old people? I stood right there, my very first meeting was the thing on approval for the community center. And I got up there and I said, you don't need that type of building for that amount of money, $80,000 a year for 30 years. And they were lined up right here. The older people, the tears coming down their face and everything else. Gary, how can you do this to us? I said, hey, I'm not trying to do anything to you. I'm 65 years old. I'm 78 years old right now.
Yeah, yeah.
We gotta start thinking about the community as a whole.
One of the things that I've been trying to do too, Gary, is to wean our budget off compact money, right? So that rather than plugging holes in the budget, which is nice from a taxpayer standpoint, right? We don't have to tax them so much, but what happens if the casino money dries up? What happens if the Canadians build a casino in Cornwall? What's gonna happen to this casino? You
And
know?
what's gonna happen if Alcoa is just done and they take
Well-
all the buildings down?
Well, and they're already taking buildings
Oh, I
down.
know they
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
I know they are.
I hear you. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yes.
I was privy to the information on what was paid in earlier years
Yeah.
in taxes to this community.
Oh, yeah, tremendous
It was
amount of money.
incredible
Yeah,
amount.
well, it still is,
And-
significant.
Yeah, now it is,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not as much as it was, but it's still
But
significant.
if they pull out altogether, we're gonna be left with that big swath of land and nobody's gonna be paying any taxes.
Yep,
Because there's no structure on it.
Right.
It'll be gone
right,
very quickly.
yeah. So, hope, and again, we don't know what's gonna happen in
I
19.
know, I know.
And really, it's beyond our control too, right? I mean,
Yes, it
the
is.
state
It
threw a whole
is.
bunch of money at them in 15,
I know,
and thank God they did.
Yes.
They're still here.
Yeah.
But boy, I worry about 19. I think the price of aluminum is a little bit better than it was on the world
It is.
market.
It is.
So, but, yeah, obviously, and we need to do what we can to retool our economy, to have some diversity there, you know? I mean, the old saying, I'd rather have 5 companies with 100 employees than 1 company with 500.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
speaking of local companies, the fire in the industrial park, I mean, unfortunately, you're probably right about that. Current Renewable Energies lost a whole warehouse full of pellets last night.
Yeah, oh.
Huge fire, and, you know, and they employ over around 100 people. Yeah, not just, but in the woods, cutting the wood, but also down here and then processing them. So that was our product they had. I assume some of it may have already been sold. I haven't had a chance to talk to Pat Curran yet, but, you know, some of that product may have already been sold, but it was in the warehouse getting ready to ship, and it all burned up last night. Not all of it, but a big chunk of it.
That was what all those
Yeah,
sirens were,
yeah.
I didn't know.
It was a warehouse where they stored wood pellets that had already been processed and were ready to ship, I think, or were ready for market anyway. So they lost, but again, we need to make sure we keep all those smaller local companies too. I mean, and when a new company comes to town, they typically want a pilot, right? They want a payment in lieu of taxes agreement where if their taxes on a new facility would be $100,000, they say, well, we want to give you a pilot, and for the first 5 years, we'll pay $50,000, then we'll ramp up to $100,000 by the end of 10 years. Well, pilots are great, and it's nice, and it's a way to attract new business, but it doesn't benefit companies that are already here, you know? And so we need to do what we can to keep the taxes as low as we can, and some of that's very, very hard with some of the contracts we have, and everything, all of our contracts, not even employee contracts, service contracts for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, for the price of asphalt to pave roads, all that stuff goes up all the time, most of the time. And so, there's always some little bit of creep, every year there's a new budget, there's a 1 or 2% increase. And, you know, it's unfortunate that it happens, and it doesn't make it any easier for people to pay the taxes, but that's sort of baked in. So unless we find ways to cut other areas, which, you know, is a struggle, governments provide services. In order to provide those services, we need people. So our biggest expense is people. So the only way a municipality, the only way a municipality saves large amounts of money is to lay people off. Well, then we're losing jobs, aren't we? We're losing good paying public jobs. So it's sort of a catch-22, right? Yeah, we can save a couple $100,000 if we lay off, you know, 10 or 15 people. There's 10 or 15 more people on unemployment or looking for a job. So it's not as easy as it sounds sometimes.
The big problem is, Joe, unfortunately, most people that live in Massena right now don't remember. If I said to anybody here,
Careful.
have you always been born and raised in Massena? No. Okay. Would you believe if I told you that in 1956, the Alcoa plant had 6,000 people employed there?
You're talking to one of them right here.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, but 6,000 people, that's what we've gone from.
Yeah,
6,000 people, just at Alcoa.
to 600,
Oh, yeah,
to 600,
yeah,
1/10, 1/10.
oh, yeah. It's,
And then in the late 50s, on top of that, then you had General Motors and Reynolds too, right? Another couple thousand.
yeah. And I could understand when Alcoa first started saying, this was years ago, when they wanted to get away from the smelter, all they wanted to be was a smelter.
Yeah,
They didn't want to do all the special products.
the value added.
Yeah, so you would see, all of a sudden, you'd see, well, this section is shut down. So 150 guys were going out the door, so the guys that had the most time, they went into another department and they bumped, you know? And I've talked to it, because by 66, I was working in the cable company, and when they started affecting a lot of them, I would talk to the guys that got laid off. I'd say, did you have product that was going out? Oh, they had tons of product that was going out. And I could never understand why they didn't try at that time to say, build your own little section here in Massena to make whatever that product was used for. You know, instead of the Alcoa going from here and shipping it all the way to Cleveland, where it's turned into cans or down, like they do down in Oswego, they could have made aluminum cans here at that time. But they never.
Well, see, and that's part of what the NIPA funded study looked at is, can we bring companies to town to use NIPA power, maybe also use Alcoa aluminum?
Yeah, small ones that hire, like you said, if they're
50,
if they're
75,
50
people.
to 100 people,
Yeah.
is an ideal situation.
So, but we can't force companies to come here, we can't pay them millions of dollars to come here, but we have to make ourselves as attractive as possible.
You can't give the power away,
Right.
you can give.
Well, NIPA gives very favorable contracts, I will
Yes,
say that.
I know,
And,
I know.
and the mayor, you know, has been working on sort of a community development model where we do our best to improve the amenities we have as a community, make our community as attractive as possible to people that may be coming here. Maybe somebody's coming to work at Clarkson, maybe if they find Massena is a really attractive place, they would stay and live in Massena. And there's all kinds of houses for sale, we know that, right? And something, you can get a really good house in Massena for a really good price. It's certainly a buyer's market right now. So, and one of the biggest things we need to fix is our attitude, our mentality. People think, oh, Massena's this, it's a shadow of what it used to be, it's terrible, it's so good. I see it on Facebook and on the internet all the time, and these horrible comments people make, oh, it's terrible, Massena, but it's an art, you know, who wants to live there? A new doctor came to town, Dr. Gaborio. I went to see him, I had an appointment with him. How's Massena? Oh my God, I love it, it's great. He has a 3-year contract here. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, people are so friendly. I said, well, yeah. He said, no. I said, I don't just mean say hi, how you doing, and give you a smile. They're really, really friendly. They want to know if they can help you. He said, they're really great. He said, my parent, he's from France. His wife is from Montreal. That's how they ended up here. He was, I think, in Portland or in Seattle.